Welcome to video 2 of the Discovery Center at Camana Bay. In this video, I really wanted to step back a little bit and take us back to the very beginning of how this all came together. What were those key steps in the envisioning part of the process, the sort of creative side that allowed us to really imagine what the center could be and what it could stand for. We were really charged with the mission of creating something that could last a decade or longer, and so that it would have enough vibrancy and enough interest to keep people captivated to want to keep coming back to this welcome center, this sales center, and what ultimately became a great social hub of activity. So probably for about 5 or 7 minutes I'm going to take you through basically the presentation that I was giving to management and to also to some of the vendors that we ended up working with, who ultimately became very close partners in the process. But basically it's the story of how do you tell about an evolving town? How do you describe that to people so they can understand it? And how do we take advantage of this space to help articulate that message? So what we're looking at is the town of Camana Bay, and this is an evolution that's going to take 40, 50, 60 years, but it will have a degree of permanency and for generations to enjoy. And as we look at the town plan of Camana Bay, the Discovery Center sits right here in the crosshairs down at the town center, and we wanted it to be there on purpose to describe the sort of, as we call it, the beating heart, and how that's going to help create the lifestyle and experience for those who will live around it, meaning families and businesses and different retailers who are going to be part of this collective spirit. And then of course the Camana International School is a big anchor piece of that. So what we looked at is here's sort of an aerial picture of Camana Bay, just to give you a sense of the scope and context of the place. Right down here where the cursor is the International School, K through 12 program, about 450 students. It's fully occupied at the moment, but a really world-class educational center. Then we've got the Camana Bay Town Center in the distance, and this area here is where the first residential piece is going to be. The North Sound is out to the far right, and the Caribbean Sea is out to your left. Just to give you context of the area. Now, right in the heart of Camana Bay is the Discovery Center, and you saw it on the earlier video, but basically coffee shop to the left, movie theater to directly to the north, and then all this area in here is sort of the core of the shopping district, the dining district, sort of the social hub of the area. So we purposely wanted to be right in the heart of that activity. And I set out to really create sort of some cornerstones to what the place should become, what it needed to be. And so you can read these, but essentially a gathering place that will welcome, educate, and inspire all who visit. And we want to share this story of Camana Bay. An iconic and multi-use center that will leverage state-of-the-art touch technology to create experiences of engagement and participation. And again, it's creating this sort of hook, or series of hooks, that create opportunities for people to keep coming back. As part of the sort of core mission is I hate to say that we're storytellers, because that sometimes implies you're not telling the truth, but we are people who want to, in an enthusiastic way, share this story of Camana Bay. And to sort of give it some organization and some structure, I came up with some really high-level topics that I felt were important. And again, the reason for this is defining sort of the core message, and then in later videos you're going to see how that really became fairly elaborate and fairly detailed. But essentially just sort of this macro story of the Cayman Islands, the land, the location within Grand Cayman, that we're located on the western shores of 7 Mile Beach. You know, there's probably 50 plus restaurants within a 5-mile drive of where we are. Really the hotbed of activity, and really the major density and urban population is, you know, within 5-10 minutes of Camana Bay. So most of life happens here. And then this idea of new urbanism as a development principle needing to explain that to people, to help educate people about that. And really, we can take the new out of it. It's about urbanism. It's about this sense of placemaking and living in an environment where you can walk to school, you can walk to work, your grocery store is right here, your retailers, your purveyors, they know you by name. You develop a really great relationship with people, and that's all part of this new urbanist movement that's underway that Andrea Stuani and others started down at Seaside, and you see it propagated throughout the United States when people now are looking at better ways to develop. I think it's always important to establish your value, and that value comes through the credibility of the development team. So who's behind it, both in terms of the development team itself, our partners, some of the many talents that we have as part of this endeavor. And really, what are we creating at the end of the day? This sense of community, this place. And so trying to tie it all together. And again, these are just the high-level points that sort of set the tone for what we're trying to accomplish. I call this Discovery Center 1.0. And essentially, I picked up the project late fall, early spring of 2009. And there were two predecessors to me that I think were very well intended, but at the end of the day, they weren't going to reside in the center. And because it was going to be the sort of epicenter of my life from a sales operations perspective, I took a very hard look at how the original space plan was going to lay out. And a lot of it holds true, but then there were some elements that I wanted to really refine and make better. One of the key elements is that we needed more space. There wasn't enough room for staff. So as you would come through the center, we had the library, we had the meeting area. This wasn't as defined as I thought it needed to be to offer privacy and intimacy, so that you'll see adjusted here in a minute. On this wall, a series of display screens. I don't think originally is intended to have as much interaction as we ended up having, so that evolved. And then this was a living area back here that I converted into two office spaces and a kitchen area that also needed to be refined. So that's the 1.0 version. The 2.0 version, one, it looks better, for one, but it really it was a better use of the space. You can see the offices in the back area here for my two sales team members, my office back here, and other members of our concierge team, and Discovery Center Management was going to be back here. The kitchen took a more prominent piece, and then we still had sort of a what I call sort of a spillover area. So when we get a lot of traffic that comes in, if they're done with their interactions and they want to wait on a salesperson or a concierge to speak with, they can rest here while someone's coming out to meet them. We also have the space here that could be used for again, a holding area for people, or people where there's meetings that are being conducted can take place in there. There's also this sense that really our business was evolving, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't just doing what everybody else was doing. I wanted to get to a new level in terms of how we communicate and interact with prospects. And the following sort of takes you through the notion of where we've been from a technology perspective, and I think as real estate professionals, how products and offerings have been delivered to consumers. And so we kind of take this sort of continuum of the analog world, which we can all relate to and live through, the digital world where the web has been top of mind for everybody for the last 10 to 15 years. It's now evolving into the social web and software 2.0 and some other really important aspects. But what we really saw as something that was critical was to make the content and the experience so rich that it became experiential, that it became something where people would really engage and really want to be part of what we were doing and want to take an active role in the actual conversation. Nobody likes to be talked to, they want to be talked with. So we found a partner in this process with Bright Door who has a laser focus of applying technology to real estate development endeavors, and they do it in a very thoughtful way. it begins with the core, which is Brightbase, which is both a CRM and what I would refer to as a content management system, because all the rich content, the pictures, the videos, the schematics, the maps, all has to reside in one place, and so Brightbase is sort of the brains behind that. Brightshow, which we saw in the first video, is sort of the sales presentation piece. Very fluid. It's not linear, which I think is important, so the conversations can start and end and go in many different directions. BrightSite is sort of this idea of a private portal for a customer. So once they become a customer, we're going to have an opportunity to, if you will, share updates about how their home is coming along. As the community evolves and people start living in their homes, community information, upcoming events, keeping your contact information updated, all that can be housed in BrightSite as a private portal. And then we have this notion of BrightGuide, which is the self-learning tool. It's similar to Brightshow in some ways, but it offers perhaps a little more text, a little more information, so that people can self-learn and self-interact. At the end of the day, what was important for us is just all this tied together. We feel that's the compelling piece, is it's not just one piece, but it's all the pieces, and we take advantage of all of them today. So really, again, this is just the framework of the conversation that we were trying to start. It was also the framework of how we saw the flow of the center. What we'll go into in the next video is now the development of that. So taking these sort of 4 headlines of the island, the developer, what we're selling, and sort of the lifestyle and experience, and how do you package that through Brightshow and BrightGuide. So you'll see that now in the coming video.